Blog Talk Radio.
Enlightenment Evolution Network presents the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier. Hey everybody, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network, and all opinions, ideas expressed by myself or any guest of this show may not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the network. So, with that being said, today is the day to rock and roll, my friends. We have some very big stuff coming our way. First of all, I'm going to make a couple announcements for up-and-coming shows. On November 12th, on this show, we will have the one and only David Sarita. For those of you who don't know who David Sarita is, he's an amazing person who has dealt with the quantum mechanics of consciousness. He is the metaphysical quantum physics expert. He is a wonderful, wonderful person. Just did an event called the Ascension Online Conference. You can find that at portal2ascension.org. Go there. Great event. Quite a few people. So amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. He will be a guest here on the 12th of next month. Also, I wanted to let you guys know that everything that we're going to be doing coming up here on the network is going to be really exciting. If any of you had a chance to listen last week or this weekend, Saturday, I did the very first show of Disclosure Now with the Pied Piper and Texas Rebel. It was an amazing, amazing show. Went on there and talked about the state of affairs in Earth today. They took my views on it. They took it as they needed, and that was about all that was exchanged there. A lot of good ideas, a lot of great stuff. A lot of people were kind of a little worked up about that specific concept about that show because it deals with conspiracies, it deals with UFOs, government, Illuminati, all sorts of stuff, bad Earth environments. I mean, anything you could think of, it covers. Now, what people said to me is, you are bringing a show on the network that doesn't feel right. It doesn't fit the vibration of the rest of the network. And my thoughts is this. When we're all creating an experience, a lot of people who came to the path that I'm on right now came through that path of conspiracies, came through the path of understanding. They had to have it triggered within them that they had their power taken away or feel like they did so that they could learn a new way to find their power. That was their awakening process. Now, to me, someone who empowers themselves by learning these things about conspiracies, about all of these things, does not mean that they're not enlightened. This is the problem. A lot of the New Age community has looked at all of these people as if they're not enlightened because they're holding on to ideas that can be a bit fearful in the perception of the New Age community. So they kind of look down upon them and say, well, you guys aren't quite enlightened. You're still scared. You're still running in that energy. And I understand both schools of thought. I don't believe that there's a wrong path. I think both of those are perfectly good, perfectly able to grow in both of those types of environments. So for me, I accept both of those pathways. Great show. It's going to continue. Next week, Philip Sweeney will be on. He'll be their guest. Then David Chase after that. And then a couple weeks down the road, we're going to have Phil Langdon, and we are going to have Michael Horn. Michael Horn's the supporter of the Billy Myers case. He's the North American spokesperson for Billy Myers and the Figu camp. And then we have Phil Langdon, who has went several years through several different documentaries. in his opinion, he's debunking the Billy Meyer case. So it's amazing, amazing. 2 different views. You're going to get both views on that show. It will be amazing. So keep your eyes peeled if that's your cup of tea. If it's not your cup of tea, don't feel bad about not tuning in, as you can do to this show and every other show on the network. One more network announcement before we get to the show. We are going to have the most grand and wonderful relaunch of a show in the history of the network, and it will be this Friday. We're talking 2 days from today. We will have The Earth Experience with Kalina Angel. And Kalina Angel is wonderful, and I think that she would like to say something real quick about the relaunch, and then just to say hi, because she's here with me as we speak.
Hi, everybody. This is Kalina Angel. Thank you, Rob, for reintroducing me back. We had an unofficial, smaller relaunch last week. This Friday, we are going to have Rob Gauthier back again in the second hour of the Earth Experience. It'll be on at 9 o'clock on Network 1. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that is 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The second hour we'll have, we had the Ancient Pleiadian Artist and of course, our beloved Treb that Rob channeled. We're going to have artists in particular on for the second hour, and then the first hour, as many of you who have been listening know that I was recovering from this strange, what doctors still don't know what happened, still testing, still trying to figure it out. It's been an enigma, and because it just kept changing every time they thought, oh, we need to take your gallbladder. Okay, no, maybe it's the liver. Okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. During this time, I had an experience that just actually wound up being extremely spiritual, and sometimes I think there are elements in me that's kind of stubborn, and sometimes we have to create a reality in which we are literally put on our backs to see things a certain way, because I've always been a giver, kind of behind the scenes, and just kind of, just giving in my energy, and it's this time for me to really hone in on my own excitements as well. So I will be talking about my story in the hospital. I have a very special connection that I had that I think a lot of you might be very interested in hearing in, especially if you're deeply into spirituality and you are interested in ETs. So yes, I think that'll be very, very interesting in the first hour, and I'll talk about all of that, my personal story that I've been keeping secret. And then, of course, again, the second hour we'll be focusing on questions with artists. We'll be talking about all things the Earth Experience, and basically that theme, for any of you that haven't heard the show before, is just bringing your, we focus a lot in, especially on the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, we focus on the higher energies, but we're also on Earth. We're having all these experiences, so we want to bring, in a sense, this idea of, we always talk about ascension and all, but we also want to bring it down to Earth. How can we have the everyday life in an enlightened way? How can we learn how to love each other authentically? Because I'm certainly no expert at it, but I'm working on it, to have that unconditional love experience, always remembering that we're one, and living in my excitements, and also living, I love to be of service to others. That's one of my excitements. So if that sounds appealing to you, please join me on Friday for the relaunch. We will be taking callers. It's just going to be a blast.
I am not going to miss it. I know that.
I hope not.
Well, Kalina.
Otherwise, I'll have to channel Aradif. I'm a little, I do hear him a lot.
Amazingly accurate, too.
I always ask him, did I hear that from Aradif?
And it's amazing, too, that your special thing that you're going to talk about, I don't want to give away any surprises, but has a lot to do, not just with your Earth experience overall, but it has a lot to do with your inner connection and outer connection.
Yes.
It's really wonderful. I can't wait. And I'm telling you guys, if you enjoy the show tonight, you're going to adore and love the show Friday. Anything else about What's going on? Anything with your show? That's
just
exciting, yeah?
Oh, pretty much everything. I have a lot of things brewing. I've been sending out emails for some upcoming special guests. So stay tuned for that. I should be releasing that information in about a month or so. And then I think it was on, what was that recent show you were on, Karen Newman's show on the Pyramid One Network.
Yes.
As some of you guys know, Rob's been working on a book with Ardif. I have been working on a book with Ardif and some other entities on a book that has to do with self-love. And before publishing it in my book, I feel like it's very relevant now. Ardif came up with something through Rob that's called, we call it shadow working. And right now it has 10 steps. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to finish up on that in a week or so, and then we'll have it online. We'll let you guys know where to get it. If you are feeling like you have a lot of stuff coming up that you need to work on, we will make sure that we provide that for you before the book is published, because as you know, it can take a while for a book to come out, and it's been so helpful for me in releasing that I feel like it just could be useful for everybody right now. It's so relevant, and all these energies and things have been going on, particularly in 2014, that can feel challenging. We've spoken about these 3 waves that have been going on. This has been very, very good for me. It's been helping to restore my health, because anything in me that I wasn't aware of or things I was afraid of, if you have negative self-talk, for instance, this is really good about clearing that. It is a huge step in self-love. So, I've always been the type to give others compliments, but for some reason I would be like bashing myself inside if it was less than perfect, less than unconditional love, less than this or that. Or I'd get mad at myself for getting mad at someone, like, well, that's not very enlightened, Kalina, So, a lot of you probably know how that feels, because you're like, oh, man. So, and it's about fully accepting yourself where you are right now and really being okay with it. So if that interests you, we will have that ready within a week or 2. And feel free to share any of that, when you call in. But we'll have it on, I know we'll have it on TrebChanneling.com. Mm-hmm. And shall we tell them about the other website in the works to be launched probably by next month?
Absolutely.
Ardif will be getting his own website, so I'll definitely be putting it there. And then eventually I'll be getting my own website too. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm probably going to get Ardif up there first, because he's been in, like Treb, he's in very, very high demand.
He has. Actually, a lot of the work information he shared went pretty much viral lately when it comes down to it. The statistics on the website show that more people are coming to visit the website daily, and when they do, they're going straight to the Ardif material. Yeah. It's brand new, and it's very unique. Everybody does that. When they find something that they just like that's new, they can't get enough of it. And right now, Ardif, his connection to myself is getting better. The energy's lining up better. Mm-hmm. Myself and you co-created some wonderful experiences with him, and all of the information that he's going to share is profound. And your thing that you were working on him with is probably one of the most common sense oriented process to work through, and the shadow work's not an original terminology.
Well, the idea there are lots of, I think Carl Jung also, I don't know how it compares, because I haven't really looked into others shadow working, because I don't want to like filter in, or like sometimes our human minds can like pull in stuff from others. But once I get a little more into my own shadow working, I'm going to be very curious to look at how it compares to others. But yes, the concept of shadow work is nothing new. It might even be a psychology term, which
sure.
my father, as a counselor, would be able to tell us about. But for now, this is Ardif style of shadow working. So I don't know if it's similar or not, but I do know that there are all kinds of different kinds of shadow work that exist. But this one has definitely been very, very healing. And what's funny is when you, I was a little concerned, especially at first, about shadow working because you get scary. You're facing all this kind of perceived darkness inside. And what's funny is I would have the intention, and then I kind of put it down for a day or two, and stuff would come up anyway, naturally. And Art just said, well, if you don't do the work, the work will do you. Because the intention was definitely there. That's what's amazing about the shadow work. You do the sheets, and then even if you put it down for a couple of days, because your intention, your energy, law of attraction, it will come to you. So as well. So it's been really amazing. I highly recommend it. We will provide it for free for everybody on the site so that you can go ahead and get going with that if it interests you. It's worked wonders for me, and I'm just still in I consider the beginning stages, but...
Oh, you've done extensive work, even though the time period's been short. There's a lot of things that go with it. Every time I've used it, it has benefited me greatly, too.
Yeah.
Anytime you go into something, and I won't get into it too much because it'll speak for itself, but the more you get into it, the more you find out about yourself, and that's the actual beauty part of the whole thing. You
start to find out how awesome you actually are. You uncover the... as Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, says, the belief thief. You'll realize, you'll have adopted it from here or there, some story, and then you'll literally strip the story away, and then you'll find the real truth behind it, what you actually believe about something on a soul level, and it's just. And it's always loving and beautiful, and it feels right for you. You literally get to connect with your heart. So just think of the people that you really love in your life, the people that no matter what are just wonderful and beautiful in your eyes, and you actually get to see yourself the way you perceive your loved ones. And it is to finally have that permission, because a lot of us, pretty much all of us, have been taught since we were children trying to get validated, trying to for love, like the impression that we have to work for it, we have to do this and do that and stand on our heads, and do what society requests of us, but also trying to balance like how do you find your personal happiness and all. But all of that falls away, and you just accept yourself, and you're able to pull in realities where you get to co-create that, and you'll have less and less and less things and people will bump into, and there will be situations that will fall away that may be perceived as painful at first. People that you love may, fall out of alignment for that time, for this life or however long, but you will also pull in other wonderful experiences. And in the long run, you'll see that it's really beautiful. So I think all of that is what I've seen so far in the shadow work, and it's just been incredible.
Well, you've been doing it hard, and anyone who works on themselves extensively always sees great results. But I really do think that Ardip has something here with these steps. I think the way that he lines them out, the way he works, it really does. It has a good effect. Yeah. Just about everyone who does goes through that. Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have that out. That might even be something interesting to talk part of. I have one of my shows lands on Halloween, shadow working. Wow, it sounds a little.
Work in the shadow night.
Yeah, maybe we can tag up on that in the second hour. I'm trying to get some variety where, like, for some of the shows, there'll be something on the first hour and then another thing on the second, because I have one of those I need to be entertained personalities, and I like to switch things around,
Well, a lot of our listeners, fortunately, listening to me for long periods of time means that they don't need to be entertained. Just talk to about certain such, because I am probably one of the least entertaining people ever.
Yeah. People that channel aliens are not interesting or entertaining at all.
That is very, very insightful of you.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, and I don't know if you want to stick around and talk about the next subject
God,
that I want to talk about.
This is amazing.
Myself and Kalina had a very, very huge experience on...
last night, right?
No, it's the night before. It was the 21st. Or the 20th.
20th. It was the 20th.
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
Hugely
almost
profound.
the 21st.
Yeah, it was 11:59 actually. When I went and set it on the calendar, it was 11:59. So 1 minute before yesterday. Late in the night. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but before I do, I'm going to play this little clip. This will fill you in on my version of the experience, and when we come back, I would like for myself and Kalina to talk about it if you want to. That's up to you. Sorry about putting you on the spot, but this clip is going to talk, and this is about a race of a collective race called a Nihal. It's something that you've heard Treb talk about many times, and this experience is based around that, and it's something that me and Kalina shared that was very huge and very profound, and I want to share this with you guys from my point of view, and when we get back, we'll hear Kalina's point of view, and then we're going to talk about how important this really is.
Yeah, and this is a clip that you'll be turning into a video, correct?
It is already a video, and that's why you'll hear
That's why
music.
he'll be introducing himself again.
Yes, so you'll hear me introduce myself. You'll also hear music in the front, music in the end. It's about a 20-minute clip. So you guys hang out there, listen to this, and on the other side we will be back and we will talk. And hopefully you guys can hear how much clearer our beautiful voices sound.
Yes.
As our dear friend, the host of the Disclosure Now, gifted us a microphone, which is very, very high in definition, and he gave us this as a gift for him doing his show. He wanted us to sound as good as he did, so now you can hear us much more clearly on this beautiful microphone. Thank you, Pied Piper, for that. We love you very much, and for all of you guys who are listening, remember, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. You guys can call in and chat with us after this recording, after Kalina talks about her perception and her feeling of what happened in that night on the 20th at 11:59 p.m., which is a day that will stick in my brain for sure from this point forward. But after this, we'll come back, we'll chat about it, and then we'll go from there and take calls. If you want to call in, area code 347-308-8788. Make sure you hit the button, number 1, so that you guys can join in the conversation. We've already got a couple callers with their hands up. We see you, and we will get to you right after this. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the clip, and we'll see you back in about 20 minutes. Hey everybody, this is Rob Gauthier from TrebChanneling.com. A couple days ago on my Facebook account, I made a post about an experience that I had, and I wanted to share that with all of you really quickly. I still really can't put it in words, but I'm going to try to, the best way I can, to articulate and express exactly what I went through during this specific communication, I guess we'll call it. Myself and Kalina, we were both doing some chakra work, some oming. It was right before we were getting ready to lay down for bed, and we had just had tons of intimate conversations and communications, and we were really deep into our heart in that moment. I have been doing conscious channeling with Treb and Ardif lately. I've been connecting to him a lot more in the awakened state. In a conscious state, I've been connecting deeper. More profound information comes through, more profound feelings and resonance. Before I go to the rest of the story, I need to reference something for all of you. I need to make a reference for something that really most people didn't really know about me at this point. In the last year to year and a half, I've started doing Treb channeling full time. Before that, I always had a day job. Before August of last year, I was babysitting every day, about 10 hours a day for 6 children. Plus, after that, my son would come home, and he has cerebral palsy, so there's a lot of things involved. He literally is 100% dependent on me. And in that time, I was doing 100% of the caretaking of him, as well as dealing and watching these 6 children. So I only could do the work for Treb channeling before then up to maybe 3 hours a day. Since then, I've dedicated 100% of myself to the work. And now that Kalina's connected to me and we're working together, it's just been that much more profound. It's been that much more intense. There's been that much more work that's getting done. Now that gives you a reference, we'll go to where I'm going. This last year has been intense for me. I have never consciously channeled before then. I always felt Treb's presence. I always would integrate thoughts with him. I would always receive information from him in an awakened state at very low levels. But this last year has been intense. The last 6 months especially intense. So now that I give you a starting reference, we'll continue. We just got done with our chakra work. We're oming, we're connecting, we're getting ready for bed, and right before we get ready to call it quits, I do the oming like I do when I start connecting to Treb, and I instantly rushed into another state of consciousness, instantly became a part of this new feeling, it was more than a feeling, and like I said, forgive me as I struggle for words here, but the references in itself are just so difficult to explain. Once I connected, this energy was super intense. I never felt anything like that. I could not speak any words. My voice was almost taken from me. I was so into this emotion, I couldn't speak. I think in 10 minutes while I felt this connection, I probably said 4 or 5 words to Kalina. Are you okay? What's going on? She felt this energy in me. And I could see, she just looked in my eyes and she knew that I had made this new connection. And this connection was so deep and profound. She started crying. And when she started crying, I felt her happiness. I felt her excitement. I already had such a profound excitement in my own energy, but when she noticed it and started to become a part of it, that overwhelming sensation became that much more. I could feel her energy melt in to the energy that I had just connected to, plus Ardip and Treb were also there in that moment. So it was so intense, I couldn't speak. My eyes are watering, I'm crying, I am very highly emotional. She's holding my hands, looking at me in my eyes, and we're both a part of this energy now. I couldn't speak to her, so I picked up my cell phone and I wrote something. And forgive me for a moment while I pull this up. I'd like to read the exact thing that I typed into my calendar. It was the only thing I could find to type into, but this was, in essence, what my emotional sensations and feelings were in that moment. Now here I see October 20th at 11:59 p.m., 1 minute before midnight on October 20th, and here's what I write. I write 11:59, and I put a semicolon in there instead of a colon for 11:59. They remember now. They get to come back and remember forever. They are us. They remember. And that's all I could write. That's the only thing that made sense to me in that moment. Words became useless. Words broke down at that point. It was so intense that I didn't have any sort of reference for what I was going through. That's the only thing that I could express. And after about 5 minutes of this 10 minutes of sensation, I was able to talk a little bit more. And Kalina tried to communicate. She thought I might have slipped into a trance because we were oming, and I often do when I om. I go in that trance. She thought maybe I had connected to this new entity. She felt that profound. After her emotional state came back down, she tried talking. Can you communicate? Can you speak? Can you verbally communicate something to me? And all I could do was shake my head no. I had no words for her. And it was so intense. Just this huge, huge intenseness. So I write that down to try to communicate with her. We move past that. I'm able to speak slightly, but I ended up telling her basically, I don't have words for this. I can't really explain what happened. She watched me as I'm typing these words, and so she knew what it was. Instantly, we both had assumed Kalina brought the idea forth. Maybe it's the oversoul. Maybe it's a large portion of our oversoul. Maybe it's a collective. Maybe it's the Nihal. Maybe it's another entity who Treb and Ardif have told me is wanting to connect to me. So that, in essence, is what we believe, but I couldn't tell. And whenever she'd say, is it this, is it that, I just shook my head no. Not because I was denying that that was the case, but it just didn't feel like it was something in the energy. I just didn't know what it was, and the feeling was it was just so much greater than anything we could think of. So I continued, and I went to bed, and the next morning I woke up with a huge happy vibration, and I couldn't even connect to Treb or Ardif later that night. I felt their presence, but I could not get communication across. I was still I almost felt on that borderline of being out of it. I was in such a bliss state. I was at the border of being non-reactive, overwhelmed is probably the best word that can describe it. I just couldn't react. I couldn't talk. I couldn't process thoughts in the way that I normally do when I get into my logical-based mind, or when my heart center expands and my expansive higher self comes through to communicate more extensively. And in that moment, I gave up on trying to figure out what it was, and I went to sleep. The next morning, there's Treb, there's Ardif, in the same fashion they've been for the last few months, and I asked, what is going on? What was that? And Treb said it's the Nihal. That name might not mean anything to any of you. The Nihal are the seeding race for Treb's race. Treb's race was not evolved in a normal fashion like we would think that most of the entities in the universe tend to evolve naturally. Humans were genetically modified. Our DNA was played with. That's why we expanded and evolved in the way we did, or at least that's the going theory for some people. Treb has mentioned that the humans as we know them today were modified from a lesser version, a less conscious version. So Treb's race was also done in that form. Nihal was the race that did this. The Nihal were the ones who connected to Treb's race as they were a second density animal entity who is a crossbreed between a Permian era large lizard, which name always escapes me, and Treb, that kills Treb. He never can reference that in my brain because there's no word there for him. So it's a mix between that and the Komodo dragon of today. And that animal was mixed with a Nihal's own DNA. The DNA that the Nihal carry are the same DNA that we carry. Slightly modified, more enhanced, but they carry the human DNA. They are one probability of a future timeline of where humanity can go. In the Type 1 design and the Type 1 energy, they are the future human Type 1 entities. This is a huge thing. It's big. It's important. This is where we get to if we go to Type 1. This is one version of where we get to go to if we're Type 1. Now, this is amazing in itself. These entities produced Treb's race into third density from a second density to third, and then followed them through their evolution. Now, there's been a few references of the Nihal, and some of them are a little different. Some of them were explained in the first book, Benevolent Reptilian Hybrid Humans, by myself, Jefferson Biscardi, which is available for a donate as you wish download on the website. And this energy was huge. There was lots of references in the book. Some of them came from Treb, some of them came from a couple other entities that were connected to in that book. But the baseline is there's a little bit of a different description in each one of those. I've talked about the Nihal to Treb after that book. Now, I want you guys to understand also, this book was done when my channeling was very early. There was still a lot of issues with my own self integrating to my own self, which meant the channeling would come out slightly different in the way that Treb's energy would try to produce this information. So they use a little bit of terms like hybrid, or they use terms like different parallel reality. But what this was a parallel version of ours. I didn't understand a lot of the mechanics I do now, so there was no vocabulary for them to use. The terminology of hybrid comes from the concept that the Nihal were human, and still are. They are a short, highly psychic version of humans that are then moving to another star in the Nihal system. And in the Nihal system, they inhabit a new planet. They integrate themselves to a new collective consciousness. Now, how this works is different for each race, but all races, when they leave their native planet and go to another planet, they are joining a new collective consciousness. If there is no life on that planet, then the collective consciousness tends to shape themselves more so as the seeding race, or the race who has come to inhabit. If it does have life integration, let's say second density life, then it's more of a 50-50 amalgamation. And if there's more life or higher density life on those planets when another race comes and moves there, then it's integrated more so to the mother race, or the race that was there originally. And the collective consciousness morphs, and so does the physical body. The physical body will always follow the energy of its collective, and that's what happened with the Nihal. Gravity, as well as new energy, becomes the short, human, future psychic race that are the Nihal. I was told a few weeks ago by Treb and Ardif that they needed to talk to me. I talked about this a little bit on the radio show. Very intense. They told me that the Nihal wanted to connect. I did not know how it would feel, and now I do. This new experience was so profound. They're not in a physical system anymore. They used to come visit Treb's race while they were in third and fourth density, and they've also went back into time where Treb's race was in fifth density to visit them also there. But in the physical form, in the now moment, they don't exist in physical form. They are a collective consciousness. And these entities, as a collective, are going to start connecting to me in a channeled state. I don't know, but I have a huge feeling that this will be a conscious channeled state. When they connected to me, my eyes were open. And that happens with a lot of entities in a deep trance channeled state also. but I was able to perceive everything. I was a part of the conversation. That has never happened to me to this kind of extent before. I have connected to Treb, I've connected to Art of Consciously. Treb has interacted with me consciously once, very, very strongly. It was the first time we connected. But this is going to be, if it was anything like it was that night, I'm going to have to get my energy wrapped around it a little. But in the long run, this will be something huge. And this is what I've been waiting for ever since I knew that these entities were going to connect to me. They are a huge energy. This energy is going to be something that can guide humanity. These entities have the blueprint for what humans need to do to gain themselves into a type 1 galactic collective consciousness, where we will be on the galactic format, no longer in our own planetary consciousness. We will be connecting to all of them. These entities, this Nihal collective, has the map for that, and that is why it's so exciting for me. It's so exciting for me because I'm expanding beyond. Now, the reason I told you at the beginning of this that I used to only do Treb channeling part-time, this is the reason why I told you that. Since I have been able to dedicate myself, my energy, with Kalina's help, with Kalina's expansion, my expansion simultaneously, I have been able to expand within myself. I have had more growth in this last year than I have had in so long. And I've been growing hugely ever since I connected to Treb. I've been expanding in multiples of what I used to, but in this last year it's been the most intense. My channeling has had a new level of clarity than it ever has in the last 6 months. My connection to these entities has had a new clarity than it ever has for the last 6 months. And when I walked away from the day job, when I walked away from parts of my life that did not resonate, that were not of my highest excitement, and moved towards my life that was in my highest excitement, everything's changed. Everything has changed. I always held on to different lifestyle for different reasons, responsibilities, said I have to do this in this way. If I don't do this in this way, I could have this outcome or that outcome. Or I am co-creating with other people who won't allow me the freedom to step into where I need to do. And that's gone. All of that is gone. I am limitless at this point. And through my limitlessness, I have been able to expand to this point. And all of you are capable of this. This is the beautiful thing. All of you have the availability to expand in a level and a time frame that is so exponentially much larger than anything previously ever experienced. I have felt it, Kalina's felt it, all of the people connecting to Treb and the radio show and Facebook, all of them have expanded such huge amounts in this last year. This year has been just amazing. And all of you have that in you. And I'm so proud to be a part of this. I'm so glad I have a format to speak on where others can listen. I am so glad to be a part of all of your lives. And I'm so excited that me and Kalina have been able to produce this work in the fashion that we have in the last couple of months and get you guys out as much information as we can. I love you guys with all my heart. I'm sorry that my words definitely fell short of the experience itself, but as I said, words break down at this kind of level. Words have no meaning at this level of expansion, and I am so grateful that all of you are a part of this with me, and I love you guys so, so, so much. This is Rob Gauthier, owner of Treb Channeling, owner of the Enlightenment Evolution Hour radio show, and co-owner of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye. All right, everybody. So that was my sharing as best as could with limited words, limited expressions, obviously, as I stated on the video, of what I experienced with the Nihal. And we'd like to have your feedback, guys. If you'd like to, if you just tuned in, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier, special co-host, Kalina Angel, from Friday night's show on the Enlightenment Evolution Network called The Earth Experience with Kalina Angel, who is now going to share her perception, her experience of this Nihal collective. And on the recording, I explained to all of you why I felt that this connection was so important. Now Kalina is going to share her experience with you, and also why she feels that this is a very important step in our things together.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm back. Not equipped, so I'm going to tell it live, and I'm going to try to make it a little short. So I'm seeing a lot of callers on, and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. But we were doing some pretty intense energy work, and I noticed that I was observing some complications, or I perceive complications in my lower three chakras. I'm very etheric by nature, so that's one of the reasons why I'm into the whole Earth experience. I'm not trying to plug my show, but literally that's been one of my things, is having to ground and having to really work with my lower three chakras, because for the upper I can, very quickly hone into a lot of that energy. So I was feeling these discomforts in my lower three chakras, and I was telling Rob about that. And of course, Treb and Ardif were there, and he has this kind of conscious channeling state, but they're there, as like he can actually translate to me what they're saying. They're always with them. He can hear them. So and I can always feel their presence. In fact, I can look in Rob's eyes and always tell who's even looking at me through him. So it's pretty amazing. So anyway, Rob and I had thought in the beginning, and of course they were there, Treb and Ardif, we just decided to do some oming and chanting. We started with the intention of my root chakra was breathing, and what happened is it started out with just a very basic oming. Rob started oming, and then I started oming. Then after about 3 or 4 ohms, Rob started doing his kind of almost a Tuvan style chanting. It was just a different kind that was a bit different from the way, if you've heard him when he trans-channels, from when he's bringing in Treb or if he's bringing in Ardif. So it was a bit different. And so he was doing that. Of course, I don't even know how to make my throat do what he does. It's really amazing sounding. And all of a sudden, it's like this big energy came in, and it was so intense. Rob looked into my eyes, and it was just such a huge energy and such a deep feeling of love, so large. I was confused about who it was that I was looking at. I was like, is this Treb? Is this Ardif? Is this Rob? Is this like an amalgamation of the three? And the energy and the love was so intense that I began to cry, and I could not stop looking in these loving eyes, and I felt this intense need to hug and hold Rob. And I could also tell that Rob was responding to this energy. I could see him, and he was crying. And I'm not sure if this energy that we later realized was the Nihal collective, which is, one of the future possibilities of the future humans. And in this case, we are directly connecting to the Nihal, but we weren't sure who they were at first. The energy was so large and so loving that, when we came to, Rob was kind of out. He was out of it. He couldn't even speak for the first 10 or 15 minutes at all. Like, I was asking him, what happened? What is going on? And he was just very, he couldn't get his, I guess, throat chakra, right, sweetie? You literally couldn't get the words out.
Yeah.
It was so intense that he couldn't get the words out, and he grabbed his phone. And did you read to them? Oh, yeah, you read it on the recording.
Yes, I did.
Yes. So that they literally remember what it is like for us to be the way we are now as humans. And, of course, in this version of us, we've become, type 1. We've, become unconditionally loving. And that's beautiful, because how many times have we gone to a movie and when it's futuristic, what do we normally see? This dilapidated world where we destroyed it and the earth is, messed up and polluted, or so this is just very beautiful, and the Nihal that left, they left for a very different, in fact, there were some Nihal that stayed on Earth, correct, sweetie, didn't you say?
Yes.
So the human, part of the human race?
Yes, they stayed as the human collective wall.
Right, and they actually died with the Earth in the physical, or I guess they all went through the evolutionary process together. So, Of course, I guess it depends what you're more interested in, what reality, that you want to go with in the collective. But there was a branch that broke off, and that is the one that we're speaking with. And, that's actually pretty common for races to do, is to find. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. We'll get into that later. We're still discovering all of that. But it was just extremely intense, very beautiful. I know that they're very available energetically to all of us. So if you feel a deep connection with the Nihal, I'm sure that they'll definitely come close. Wouldn't you say, sweetie?
Absolutely. They're definitely wanting to continue that connection for communication's sake. Absolutely.
And they're very dear to Treb. Did you get into, I can't remember with the clip you made this morning. I was still waking up and getting coffee when Rob made it. And did you want to get in a little bit with did you talk about the reason why they created Treb's race? I think you got into it a little.
Not on the clip as much, no. Yeah, that's a good way to go if you like to steer it that way.
Because a lot of people, as you know, in the world are fearful of the whole, the reptilian race, and so they created this race to kind of give the opportunity so that we could kind of break out of that fear base. And also, there's a lot of racism against a lot of reptilians. Didn't Treb say it's about 80% that's type 2?
Yeah, 80 to 85 reptilians are the stereotypical reptilians, malevolent.
Also malevolent. So, and type 2 doesn't always fall into the malevolent category. It's just malevolent up to very loving type 2, meaning that sometimes you can still step on the will of others, whereas type 1, you're literally not doing that at all. You're allowing all things to happen,
Sure. Some people even consider that bad. They've looked at type 1s with disdain, expressing frustration with them, like, if you love us, why don't you come down here and help us? And they're like, every negative thing you're going through has been brought from your collective for an experience that you guys need, and that apparently required. What we do is send you love and give you reflections of your own energy back to you. And that's the main difference of the benevolent type 2s and the type 1s.
Yeah, they won't rescue you because they see the power within you, but they will help to give guidance. But the way that they do it, if you notice, they'll always kind of reflect it back in a question and help guide you into your own heart. That's what's so beautiful, when people reach out to Treb, oftentimes what happens to Treb or Ardif is they help guide you to your heart, and you actually begin connecting to your higher heart. You begin connecting to entities within your oversoul, until you may not even be interested in listening to Treb or Ardif at all,
Sure.
which is good. You want to have, your own connection, but of course you can listen. And I love listening to all others, I love listening to all the different experiences and viewpoints, but collectively, I think we're all helping, leading, guiding each other to our greatest excitements. But, I'm digressing here.
What now for you? Your experience was profound.
Yes.
What do you believe that's going to be the greatest benefit from this communication?
I think, well, there's so many that I could literally have a new answer every minute for that, what the greatest would be. What was really beautiful for me, because I had at one point thought it was a Nihal, and I'm like, nah, maybe not, But for me, I'm very excited to connect with another version of us, to have that realization that we can really connect with a version of humans that are type 1 and unconditionally loving. Because I'm sure a lot of you have had days where you've gone out and for whatever reason it's just been very rough, and people are mean to you, and you're caught in traffic, and people are honking at you, and then it just kind of cascades down that way. Of course, there are also days where it's completely the opposite, and so sometimes it can be very confusing. I'd mentioned the movies before. We often see these horrible futures. We hear things like, the conspiracies, governments, and sometimes we feel like we're not empowered at all. So to hear of a version of us that became empowered, that came into their own empowerment. We're already empowered. We just oftentimes don't remember that we are, and even know how to drive our own chariots, so to speak. So you're right. So it's really hard to put into words for me too, because it completely fails in comparison to the experience that I had. So I can only imagine what it was like for you, because you were more deeply connected in. It's just, I'm very moved and touched to be near them and to have that connection with fellow humans who have this really high evolution. There's something else in the story too that I thought was very moving, and part of it was they moved back in time, right?
Sure. Yeah, they moved back in time. Linearly speaking, they went back.
Yeah.
They created Treb's race, and Treb's race was able to appear in our now time. But Treb's race wasn't the only thing that came out of that experience. Treb's race has helped tons of other of type 2 benevolent reptilians.
The gift to the universe.
Sure, it was.
Yeah.
And it was between 80 and 85 type 2 entities. And you're right, it was just type 2. Treb just said it wasn't only malevolent. It was type 2s, period, that were 80 to 85%. The other 10 to 15 are type 1s, or right there on that cusp of 1 and 2. And before that point, it was much, much higher.
Yeah.
It was in the 95%.
Well, and in our history, we had been, tampered with a lot in our DNA. Our evolution was way sped up, a lot of fears and feeling of slavery and conquering and all of that, a lot of it from a lot of the different reptilian races, especially the draconian races were, a big, and people today still have, there are people out there listening now who are, having even that, these fear-based realities, which are very, very real to them, but knowing that not all reptilians are bad, and knowing that if you send love, literally, these malevolent beings can't stand it. I mean, you raise your vibration high enough and they just cannot stand it, The only thing I think anybody would ever be able to do, maybe, is to take your physical body, but if you raise it enough, even that, because you co-create your own reality, unless you have this agreement that you absolutely want to go through that experience, it's not going to happen. But I just think, all these little bits of pieces of the puzzle that we're getting from Nihal are exciting. And you had mentioned the time in the Chinese restaurant, if you can quickly mention that.
Yeah.
Because I think, Rob, you're going to, not to put you on the spot, but you're going to be working on connecting more deeply with the Nihal, right? So we may be able to expect you channeling them sometime soon.
Oh, I imagine. Treb and Ardif came to me. We were sitting in the Chinese food restaurant down the street. We were eating, and we were in this really deep, profound conversation of something that we needed to talk about, and it was the worst time possible for interruptions, but bam, interruption. I got this overwhelming feeling. Now, I want to explain, when I say heavy energy, I don't mean negative by any means. When I say heavy, I mean very powerful and potent energy. The first time I met Treb, it was a heavy energy. I got used to his energy. Then I started working with Ardif, and Ardif's energy became very heavy at first and then lightened up. This was more intense than anything I'd ever felt in my life. Again, taking my words completely out of me, I had to stand up, walk outside, get a breath of fresh air, and while I'm finally calming down and breathing, they're telling me two entities or two connections had to be made, and in that night I had to go connect to Treb. So I started connecting to Treb in a trance-channeled state, connected. He, as in Treb, talked to me while Ardif was talking to Kalina, and whenever I channel, I go into that trance state. So I was astrally projected talking to Treb. Kalina was talking to Ardif, who came through me the very first time ever, originally just connecting to Ardif.
In trance. Which is funny, if I could cut here for a second. When I was interrupted, I was deeply trying to get some information from Ardif about something that was really important to me. And so when Rob was getting this heavy energy information, I'm thinking, what? Why is this being interrupted? Because we didn't know what it was. Well, it turns out, while Rob was going to have a chat with Treb through his, the astral projection that he does in the trans-channeling state, Ardif had a one-on-one with me. So, realized later I was just being, ego going in and being a little bit hurt and bruised, like, oh, why would you guys interrupt me? No, I got, So apparently that's a good theme. Interrupt even the chakra one. Oh, Nihal's coming in.
Yeah, we got something to do here. And it's amazing. The timing can be really rough, but it is what it is. And
it's beautiful.
Yeah, and it was a huge experience both times. And the first time, basically we were told that what we are going to do is connect to these two entities. And one entity is the Nihal. The other entity is another entity who I'm going to try to connect to at a later point, but I think the Nihal needs to work with first. Now, we see a couple callers dropped off. I didn't know if you got tired of waiting or if you just dropped off.
Yeah, I started to make it short, but we kind of went all over the place.
That's all right. We do that every week. I do it all the time. I can't stay in a spot.
If you need the number, again, the number is 347-308-8788, and then just dial 1 on your keypad, and that'll basically let us know that you have a question for us. How is it again that they can get on with the Skype? Because all those things have been changing around on Blog Talk.
If you are on the link on the website and you are watching this through your internet browser, what you can do is sign up real quick for a free Blog Talk Radio account. You can sign in with your Facebook, which makes it even quicker. Then you go to the link of the show tonight while we're live and on air. You go ahead up to the blue Skype button, which would be either below or to the right of the actual window with all these fancy pictures going through. And once that happens, you click that. It'll link you directly in. And then you hit the addition button, the plus button on the new version of Skype, and then it'll bring up a menu. You pick dial pad and then hit 1. If you're calling on your cell phone, home phone, also hit 1 on your dial pad. This will indicate to us that you need to talk to us. We had a few callers that had questions. Now we have 1. So what we're going to do is take that 1 caller and we'll talk. And anyone else who wants to talk about what we're talking about here tonight or just anything they need to talk about, please feel free to dial 1 on that button or to call in through Skype. or just pick up the phone and give us a ring.
And any experiences you guys have had, that you'd like to share with the collective,
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd love to hear it.
And anything goes on this show for sure. So we are at your service for whatever you want to talk about. And we'll take the 404 area code first. Who do we have with us this evening?
Hi, this is Anindita.
Hey, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing great. We're doing great, Annie.
Great. So I had a question, but I don't know, probably you're not channeling tonight, but I had a question from Treb. Maybe you'll be able to answer it.
Okay, we'll give her a whirl.
Well, so some time ago, like a few weeks ago, actually more than a few weeks ago, I had a dream. And in that dream, whatever I could recollect the next day in the morning was that I felt that I had some kind of an encounter with a reptilian entity. In fact, not just one, but with two reptilian entities, out of which one seemed benevolent. And because at that time I was reading your book, Benevolent Human Hybrid Reptilians, so I think the only reptilian entity that I knew about was Treb. So I thought that maybe the benevolent one was Treb. And then there was a slight reference to an entity which was not that benevolent. At least that is the feeling that I got. So I was just curious if that was a real encounter in my dream. Did it have anything to do with any kind of real encounter? Or was it just because I was reading that book that time and, just something that I made up in the dream?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Both of those are very valid, and I'm asking Treb and Art as you're asking, I'm asking them. And first of all, we have to understand there's two types of dreams. One of them is where we do all these symbolisms, we make all of these things in our own experience manifest into a dream reality so we can work through either subconscious things or just things that we need to work on for that moment. And in your dream specifically, Ardip is explaining that one of these entities who is benevolent is a representation of one entity of Treb's race that's in your oversoul. So this entity is one of Treb's family. Basically, it's one of his families who is in the oversoul of yours right at that moment. The one who is in the other polarity who seems to be not so pleasant, not so positive, that entity is a representation of another entity in your oversoul that is a Earth reptilian. Wow. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background on what the Earth reptilians are because there's so much reptilian stuff out there. It's hard to know what's resonant, what's not. This is what Treb always explained about the Earth reptilians, that these entities are hybrids of the ancient reptilians and the dinosaurs that used to go on our planet. And the Alpha Dracos came down, they made a DNA splice, they modified genes of dinosaurs in their dying days, and in that time it created that race of humanoid reptilians. So they are a 50% hybrid ancient reptilian, 50% dinosaur blood or dinosaur energy, and that are the Earth reptilians. And these are some of the groups that are connecting to humans, are connecting to other entities that are definitely not so pleasant with humans. They kind of do lots of other stuff. So it's not always the best rap, but we have also found out that the Earth reptilians have small groups who are also breaking apart from their collective so that they can co-create a type 1 experience, which is great because it has a positive polarity, and that means that these entities are very connected to what Earth is doing and wants to become a part of that galactic interactions and stuff. The symbolism for the dream itself, it's showing you the parts of yourself that have polarity. It's showing you that you are not just bad, you're not just good. You have parts of both energies, and to remove yourself from those energies can be of a negative consequence for yourself, that you don't have to beat up yourself when you go to that negative polarity, or don't think that the only thing you should be doing is going to positive polarity. So That's kind of Ardif and Treb's information that they're sending about that.
No, okay. That was very interesting. Yeah, as much as I can remember of the dream right now was that the negative entity that I actually saw a woman who was kind of like possessed and doing weird stuff. And I had this feeling in my dream that this reptilian is manipulating this woman. And the positive entity, that was a very, very weird thing. I mean, I met that positive entity at a spa or some kind of sauna. And the positive entity was telling me about how a particular blue thing, maybe some kind of a scrub or something you can use to remove energetically impurities from your body. So later on when I was telling that to my boyfriend, I was kind of laughing that I met this entity in an environment that kind of seemed like a sauna or a spa. I don't know if that has any significance or not. Just curious.
Well, that in itself is just one manifestation of the interaction. You know, you had to put it into a perspective of your daily life. If you put it in this crazy planet with everything is foreign to you, it wouldn't have brought the symbolism home to you. And Ardif is explaining that that's an essential part of your dream work to go through subconsciously. Everything that you brought back from that dream, you're only remembering it about 1/15 of what your actual dream was. So there's a lot of parts that are being either not manipulated but kind of warped because of the parts that are being taken out, and they're not in order. They're non-sequential. So you're getting parts that should have happened before that are happening after, vice versa. So that dream state is very pointed towards that idea. And I want to thank you too, Annie, for calling us up tonight. We appreciate the call and it.
Thanks so much for the explanation.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm grateful for your call and thank you for supporting the show. We love you.
Love you, Annie.
Me too. Thank you. Love you too.
All right. Bye. Thanks again. All right, everybody. We see that there are a lot of callers on and that some of them have had hands going up and down in a flickering motion. So we're imagining Blog Talk's still having a little bit of problems.
Oh, yeah. Last week, callers couldn't raise their hands. Some of them couldn't get in at all.
Yeah.
So
during the...
They're kind of in a beta phase right now. They're doing a lot of changes, which hopefully will be amazing soon.
Yeah, I'm hoping that'll make the systems run a lot clearer. But for the time being, if you guys have a question, by all means, try to raise your hand again by hitting the number 1 button. We see calls going on and off the whole time. So by all means, feel free to try to hit 1 again. If you have a call and you really want to get in with a question, by all means, if you want to hang up and call back, if you can. I don't know if that's a great idea because you might not get back on if they're having problems with the intake. But either way, what we'll do is we'll keep running the show as is. Anyone have a question, just feel free to raise their hand with the button number 1. And if that doesn't work, you could try calling in through Skype if you want.
Maybe they can, if it's not too slow, email. We can keep an eye on it.
Yeah, absolutely. What you can do, too, if you would like to raise your hand for a question, what we could do is go to Gmail at my own personal email. You can type in trebchanneling@gmail.com. We'll keep an eye on the inbox. Actually, and we'll open up a chat right now. For those of you who have a Blog Talk account, you can go to the chat, which will be on the bottom of the screen of where the video is being played. So we're going to open that chat. Any questions that you guys have, just go to the link that's on Facebook, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, or the Enlightenment Evolution Network page. Feel free to go in there, type your questions. I am here is what I'm writing there, and we are here for questions. So anything that you guys want to ask, feel free to drop in there. By all means.
That's awesome.
That is. It's amazing.
I want to activate that on Fridays.
Oh, absolutely. And
I see a question that popped up.
Okay, we got a couple callers with a couple questions, so we're going to take the first in line here. We've got area code 816. Who do we have with us this evening?
Hey, Rob and Kalina. How are you?
All right. Who's this?
This is Philip.
Hey,
Hi, Philip.
PBS, huh?
Well, as I called into different shows, I'd have to be referred to as P3, so to speak. 'Cause I noticed Malika, there's also Brandon. This would be abracadabra. That's
abracadabra
between like the two. So.
So how we doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm sitting here in my living room enjoying a painting session for myself.
Nice.
I actually called in a little bit late, but and heard just the last maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes or so about the new rays that you guys had come in contact with and such, and hearing all these new experiences is all awesome on just so many levels, which in a way gets me to want to push myself a little bit further instead of shying back when I want to do certain things. But one of those things would be, I've always been interested in knowing, especially your guys' take on it, if you've heard anything elsewise. But what are the other entities' collective reasoning or brainstorming behind some of the viruses that we actually have here on Earth? And by viruses, I mean not what's become mainstream right now, but let's say like HIV per se, HIV/AIDS of that nature. Is that something that has ever been discussed, or is that something that has never come across?
Actually, that's something that, as hard as it is to believe, that's something that no one's ever really brought across the table to Treb or Ardif or any entity that we channeled. There's been lesser discussions on diseases that are smaller, cancer, things like that, but these things are, well, by the majority and popular thinking in the circles that I connected to before connecting with Treb would say that is a man-made virus and that was genetically modified for the purpose of harming other humans. So I would say that I'm asking Treb and Ardif as we're going through, I would say for my own self, we're all aware that there are people on this planet who step into the vibrational role or the play that we're doing of life as the ones who are meant to try to suppress us and dominate us. And they allow that energy, we allow that energy as a collective because we give away our power on a daily basis. We're taught in schools, we're taught in our daily life to not decide things for ourselves, to let others decide for it. So that collective energy brings that in. As far as what it means symbolically, it's truly, in my own opinion, it's got to be that giving away our own power and allowing something or someone to come in with those kind of things. But the things that I've noticed when it comes to context such as that, things that tend to feel frightening or scary for a lot of people, there's a lot of ways that Treb and Ardif have taught us to receive things like that so we can look at it from a point of empowerment. And I know that Kalina has a couple things she wants to share about that too real quick.
Well, I wanted to comment that as Rob gets into channeling the Nihal, which I think are the entities you're referring to, these are one of the future possibilities of the future humans. And I think their version of the story, if they feel comfortable to share it, and I'm pretty sure they would be because, you know, they're making a connection with us, I think that's going to be an incredible thing to bring up with the Nihal. There's going to be a lot of questions that this is very exciting for me because who better could understand us than beings who've truly been where we've been, our feelings. And I know you probably might have missed some of the clip that Rob played of the experience with the Nihal, but that's just been an incredible experience because they actually remembered as a collective what it was like to be us, to be in that moment, to know all the gamut of emotions that go with being human in this now moment. Anything like for all of us, we can have a day that it starts out amazing and then it gets really crappy in the middle and all of a sudden it's like you see a movie and you're uplifted and then you get this phone call and someone's like, oh, I've got this bill for you, and then you go to, you're really upset because you think you can't pay it, and you go to mailbox, and all of a sudden you've got an $86 check, and the bill was $85. You're like, oh my God, that's awesome. So you're like up and down. I mean, everybody's had days like this. It's all over the place. And they remember the kind of connections that we have, and it's just how unique it is, and it was just a very beautiful experience because we got a taste of that connection. And I would love to hear things like what their thoughts are, because if these diseases and viruses and things are vibrational, who better than to let us know what it is we can do to bring as a collective the empowerment within us to always be well if we want it. Some people, as Rob said, still in this moment want to have that experience. There's no such thing as a bad experience, even though it may be perceived to the fractal as bad. The higher self and the oversoul begs to differ.
Oh, I know they do.
I go through things kicking and screaming all the time, and then later in hindsight, it's all good, and I get a good laugh, but then the kicking and screaming may happen like a week later, and they're like, well, you said you didn't mind. But, I think that once Rob goes through, we should ask that question again.
Yeah. And
if I don't pose it, I really encourage you to write us an email.
Oh, I won't forget.
And, we gave you trebchanneling at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or trebchanneling.kalina, Kalina at gmail.com. And I will save that to ask, or if you want, contact you if you want to ask them yourself, because I think that's going to be an incredible and important thing that many people would love to hear.
And we're going to have them on, too, as soon as I work with them and get my energy to where I feel comfortable with the connection. We're going to bring them on the show, for sure.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate the input. Like, it's a very personal and strong subject for me and others that I know. So it's kind of like I've gone through those moments where it's been rough, it's been easy, it's been rough, it's been easy, and then it's been really rough. But it's all perceptual in that sense. So
and then boring.
Yeah.
A lot of boredom in between too, right?
Yes, without a doubt. There's definitely some lulls.
Well, and that's beautiful too that you come to share that with us, because that's something that's one thing that doesn't get talked a lot about. People sweep that under the rug, and that's not a place for anything. If we have something to talk about, then it means that it's important to do so. And I'm very grateful for you calling in and sharing that question with us. And also, this is something, too, that you can also bring to Treb and Art. If in the next couple weeks, they will both be back on here. And in this Friday, Ardif will be with Kalina, too. I don't know if she'll be taking questions from the public or not. But
oh, yeah, I will be taking questions for the public. I was going to focus mainly on Ardif, but certainly if anybody has questions for Treb, because as you guys know, Treb is, direct lineage from Nihal, so he may be able to actually answer some of those questions too.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm sorry my insight too wasn't as deep or profound as it could have been, but I think that basically grabs the grip of it. It's collectively on a personal level. Then we're looking at a whole different thing. There's a lot of reasons. I suggest that, too, if you have a chance to look at the sicknesses and illnesses show that we did just a few weeks back, you can go to trebchanneling.com, then go to the EEN tab, and then go to Rob's show, and then go down there, and it'll be listed under sicknesses and illnesses or something like that. And that talks about a gambit. Talks about little sicknesses all the way to the big ones. So, and kind of what we do to experience those things and what we do to get out of those experiences, and how we just deal with ones that we can't get out of. So I think that might be a really good show for you to check out too.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you for letting me be vulnerable, and it's because of you guys and others that, again, just after listening to you guys so much, it's just like, well, why not? Like, everyone's following the things that they want to do, no matter what it is that it may bring forth for people to to react to, but it's still bringing forth who you are as an individual,
Yes.
and sharing it with the collective as a whole. So I appreciate it ever so deeply, and it's getting me that much more further out there. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you again.
Thank you. We love you, and
we love and appreciate you too very deeply.
Absolutely. We thank you for being vulnerable with us, because it is a very fearful place for a lot of people to be, is vulnerable. And this is the one place, all the way back to the Rob and George show, where me and George would always say, this is a place you can come and feel safe. You can talk your mind, and no one's going to look down on you. So thank you for speaking your heart with us, because that's what we're all here to do, to expand, and you're expanding by the second. We love you very much. Thanks again.
No problem. Love you guys.
Love you too. Bye. All right, everybody. Beautiful call. We've got another caller. It is a Skype caller. I'm not going to call out the whole name, but the YAR is the first three letters of your Skype name. Who do we have with us this evening?
Hi, it's Roxy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So what's on your mind tonight, Roxy?
Well, I have a little story. A couple of weeks ago, we got a phone call, and my husband got in. It was recording a missing dog. So we go out to breakfast and come back home, and this guy's walking a dog and asks, "Is it ours?" And I said, "No," but we got a phone call about a missing dog. So, long story short, anyway, I find the email where the online place, call the company, and they call me back and say, yes, there's a missing dog, and she gave me the lady's number. Well, the lady came, and when she got here, I was out at another house anyway, but she came. But my thing is, after she got her dog, I remember seeing that lady before. I never met her in my life. It's like, you told me you were from California, your dog got missing with your boss, and what I'm getting at is, it had happened before, but I don't remember it happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a feeling of deja vu then, right?
Yeah, like you've been there and done that before, and that was the first time I've ever seen the lady. But in my mind, I was in that car with her before. I was with her when she was telling me her story how the dog got missing.
All right, well, absolutely, and I understand exactly what's going on there. It's the version of this that Treb's always described, what deja vu is in itself, is a stepping outside of yourself in linear time. And what this is your actual energy is not linear. Your experience isn't linear, but because we've agreed to be in a system that experiences time linearly, from A to B, from birth to death, that's the way we must experience it. What you've done is you're stepping outside of your vibration that moment with a remembrance. Something in that woman's energy triggered you, so it breaks you out of that linear loop. It breaks you out of just the vibrational knowing and understanding of this person, allows you to have a vibrational understanding of the situation and a vibrational understanding of that moment. And this is what you're experiencing. Now, I will explain, too, there are some very intense things that Ardif and I are working on in the book, and one of them is the lives that people redo. And I'm not going to get too much into detail because I really want to save this really profound and deep stuff. I want to save this for the collective for when it comes out in its entirety. But basically, you have the opportunity to relive your existence in a way that you feel comfortable doing, going back, looking at any things that you might not have done the way you feel right, something that you didn't do that you wanted to when you originally incarnated and made a decision on what you wanted to do. All of these little things that you want to tweak and change, you can go redo your life. And sometimes, with that understanding of the new information I've received from Ardif, with that understanding, you could very well be going through this same life second, third, fourth, 25th time. And then each time you're doing this, all of these little things that seem to be so insignificant or non-important are actually very big moments, There are moments in which something in your life could have changed one way or the other. Let me give you an example. Let's say that in your life, you meeting this woman allowed you not to go leave the road 15 minutes earlier and get hit by a semi, or not go down the street and be robbed and have your legs broken or hurt, or it allowed you not to go win a lottery ticket that you could have bought 5 minutes before and become a millionaire, because your last time you did that, you ended up killing yourself on luxury cruises and blew your money and got depressed and killed yourself. I mean, any of these things are possible, and any of these things can and will happen. And in those points that you are looking at in that one moment when you feel that energy, that could have been a hugely pivotal point in a life that you had before, and that's why it stuck out to you. And I think both of those make sense. It's just exploring both of those as possibilities to see which one makes most sense to you. And I think that in exploration of those two ideas, you'll have your answer.
Okay, it's like we get a do-over.
Absolutely. And the do-overs are on many levels and many things.
I'm curious, have you been experiencing more feelings of deja vu lately?
Yeah, it happened again on Monday on my anniversary. We were up in Helen, Georgia, and I had bought a sandwich earlier and had it put in, and I told them, can we put it in my cooler, so I can eat it later, because there's not a lot of good food out there. So anyway, yeah, when we were later that day, we decided to park in front of an antique place that sell apples and antiques and all kind of junk. And we were eating the sandwich. When I got back to the car, I remember doing that, and I have never remembered that. I said, we did this before. My husband said, we haven't eaten a sandwich here before.
I can relate to that in my own ways. I've had, I don't know if it's related to this at all, but the experience that we had, I could swear, when we were talking about the Nihal experience, to me that happened last night, but I remember the clock clearly saying October 20, but I have no recollection of this supposed yesterday, so I've been having these weird time shifts, and I don't know if that's related at all with it, but I suspect it may have to do with, the whole shifting probable realities, getting out of linear time. So I think the deja vu is something that a lot of people are experiencing. I'm curious if other people are, and also like you, I've thought I've done something and then I maybe didn't or did. So I guess that could be a little bit of a deja vu experience. So I'm really curious. I'd love for callers also share that if you're experiencing that at all, because Rob swears up and down this happened the other day. I'm like, I see the calendar, but there's literally no reference of this supposed yesterday. And I know there's like nothing there, it really happened last night. So, but the calendar says otherwise. It's amazing. I think a lot of us are having these kind of what we would perceive as freaky experiences from the 3D model, because that whole linear time is slipping. We're getting glimpses into other versions of other lives. You're suddenly having experiences with, this dog. It's really amazing.
It's actually something that Treb had said a long time ago when I first started sharing publicly channeling, and 2012 talk got out of control with people. That's all I wanted to talk about. Treb would share what ascension is, and he explained that in that fourth density exchange, you will feel like you're crazy sometimes because you're going to go through experiences that are so far removed from your normal experiences. Like Kalina just said, time in a linear fashion slips away from you. Experiences aren't felt on the same degree or level in which they were before. And this is happening to a lot of us now because we are now integrating our consciousness into the fourth density collective instead of our old 3D paradigm, and that is beautiful in itself.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much, Roxy. We appreciate your call very much.
That was awesome.
It was very awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank y'all.
We love you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Now we've got another call or another message from our chat room. What this question is, Rob, as a channeler, you may share suggestions to new channelers. If you may share some suggestions to start giving this service as a way of life and as a business. Okay. First of all, I want to let everyone know that if they're looking to channel, that I do supply that as a service from Treb Channeling. I go through and I teach people channeling techniques. I teach them how to connect to your own energy so you can connect more so to your guides, higher selves, whatever versions. In these people who I have shared channeling with, almost every single one of them within the first 3 sessions has at least channeled their own chakras. And I know that sounds silly. I know that sounds a little odd, channeling your chakras. What does that mean? Well, you have 7 energy systems in the center of your physical body, and each one of those has a specific meaning in life. For instance, the heart chakra is for love, the second's for sexuality and excitement, the third is for linear time, trying to live in the now, not projecting too far out in front or behind. All of these have all of these different types of portions of your life that you exist in. When people get sick, they can usually correlate the area that the illness manifests out with the chakra that's aligned in what they're misaligning their energy in. That is something we've shared through Master Density. We've shared that a bunch of times, myself and Clean, on our shows. So, with that being said, knowing that that is out there and that's a possibility, if you are beginning to learn how to channel on your own, and this is something that you want to do for a living, there is a lot of things that you can do. First of all, the very most important thing that anyone can do if they want to start channeling and start giving away as services and start making a living off of it is you have to invest all of your time in it, and only do this if you want to do it as a living. Only do it if it's in your highest excitement. A lot of people are looking at the Daryl Ankas of the world. They're looking at the Jeffrey Hoppies of the world, and they're saying these people are rich. I'm excited to be rich, and I think channeling would be a good way to do. And if you're excited about channeling, then do it. By all means, do it. But in my own personal opinion, and again, my own personal, if you're only doing it for a financial gain, then I suggest it's probably not the greatest place to do that with. Channeling can be rough for some. It can be rough for some, and it can be very easy for others in the financial means. But when you're approaching it, it has to be about excitement. Those who are truly excited to channel, they either make a living off of it or they do the work for free or for donation, and then their abundance is taken care of in other means. I used to channel strictly for free for the first 2 years I did it. After that, I started taking donations, and now I make a good balance. I do it for free, I do it for those who can't afford a full price, and then I do it for a certain set price, which allows me to create an equal flow of what I feel my energy is worth. And in those 3 steps, it gives everyone the ability to co-create. In my own belief, it is not a negative thing to charge for the work that you do spiritually. If you go to a psychologist, if you go to a psychiatrist, if you go to a counselor, and you want better mentality, if you want to shake a depression or whatever issues you're going through, you will pay them a certain price, and you will do it willingly because you know that that allows help. And a lot of people understand what channeling is doing for them now. They understand that looking into the channel material brings them a reflection of their own information that they're having a difficulty finding. And people say, well, if everyone could do it, then why should it be charged for? And Brad Johnson was a guest on my show a long time ago, and he said something that stuck with me. For me, my own self, when I learned how to channel, it took me 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day of meditating or doing a closed eye technique, which is a form of meditation. It took me several years to do this, and it was a lot of work. And I had to put in a lot of hard work to get where I was. Going through the channeling can be a useful shortcut if you need it. Instead, if you are raising 3 kids and you have 2 jobs, you don't have 10 hours a day to meditate, it's kind of hard to gain that in the time period that some people need to get these reflections.
Who knows? Can I cut in?
Yeah, absolutely.
That of course is your belief system.
Sure.
I still believe it's possible for someone who's doing all that to channel. I think the biggest thing is working through the filtering system.
Sure. Absolutely. Anybody can channel, and they don't even have to meditate, and that's the beautiful thing about it. But a lot of people believe that that's the only way. They believe that work is the only way, and they don't want to put that time into it because they feel that they either don't have it or it's not of their highest excitement. And if that's the case, that's fine too.
And there are all kinds of ways to channel. It can be through music, art. We have connections with people who are able to connect and draw particularly people's hybrid children and ETs, and that's one form of channeling. It's like a visual channeling. There are people that do written channeling, but I also want to say, people can also channel for themselves. I know for me, I had mentioned the filtering system. I actually channeled as a child, although I wasn't familiar with the word channeling, but then I closed down for many years for reasons I'd spoken about in previous shows. But for me right now, I would never want to channel fully publicly. Maybe something written that I know for sure is clear and what I perceive to be kind of tried and true, pretty universal. Because I feel like, I don't know how to put it delicately, but sometimes we can channel information, but our egos can also filter it, and it's like putting on a certain pair of glasses. Let's say I've got all these different colors, and I choose to always filter it through green glasses, rather than, like what I perceive as saying there, even though it's not always that cut and dry, of course, because even the entities you channel have their own, like Treb, for instance, has his own culture. For those of you that know, you've listened to the videos or had sessions, he always does what? He asks permission. Artists in his culture, he can just look, your interest alone is good. He doesn't have to go, okay, you need to push your energy out. So even they, fifth and sixth density entities, have their own personal belief systems, their own personal cultures. So to me, that boils down to following our own heart. That even when these entities give channeled information, even when we channel information, we check in how our heart feels about it. Does that resonate with you? Because something that is completely right on for someone may not be right on for someone else, and that's okay. I listen to a lot of channeled material, but I don't always believe in everything that's said, or I guess the right word for it would be resonate with every single thing. So I just pay attention to my heart, and so for me, connecting with the heart is the way that I personally channel within my own self. Right now, it's personal, it's private.
Sure.
I think a lot of people, that's where it starts, and then if your passion, your excitement grows, if you have that personality where you want to be of service to others, but also you want to know that you want to see people as empowered. They have all of that, all the answers inside of them, inside their hearts. We all do, because we're all one. But what's amazing, as fractals, we have all of our own take on, we make our own glasses, so to speak. How we want to see it perceived, but it's all beautiful. And I wanted to make one more little comment as the financial thing, because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We all, want to be abundant in whatever way we want to be. But there are a lot of writers, for instance. You never want to write a book, for instance, just to get published. You want to be passionate about the story.
Sure.
You want to really enjoy it, So, and if you look in, if you look, for instance, in like the Harry Potter books, look up the story behind that, and you'll see what I mean. Just following that passion, and this is a woman who was very busy, So that's one example I wanted to use. And just like also, likewise, let's say you wanted to be an artist. People say, like artists, musicians can't make money and all of that.
The starving artist. Yeah.
Right, the starving artist thing. But, if you're truly passionate and you want to be abundant, you will find that way. You will create it. You'll have this amazing aha moment. And I truly, truly believe it. And to me, there are just so many different ways to channel. It's not just doing it the way Rob does it, but we all channel. And we all have something amazing to contribute as our own personal stamp to this world. It's one of the reasons why we're fractals. So I say to you, if that is like your highest excitement to channel,
run with it.
Eat, sleep, live, breathe it. But just know that you're already doing it. I know Rob does it way times millions. But I promise you, if you're asking the question to channel, you're already, in my mind, I feel like when we ask it, we're already doing it.
The answers are already there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like, too, what you said about the looking through the different colored glasses, and even the entities that we connect to in their own beliefs and their own cultures always color the same message. You could ask Treb and Art the same question, and they might have a similar degree of an answer, but they're always going to answer differently, even if the information's complete. And that's where a lot of people discernment about what channeling is, and the right tool is using your heart, and that's a beautiful point.
They do that with you and I all the time, which is, type 1s will make this direct connection with your heart, and they do serve a lot as a mirror.
Yeah, absolutely. As disappointed as I am to say this, the show is winding down towards its very end. We are going to play announcements before we go off air. We have a few minutes left before that, so I want to thank every caller. I want to also thank my beautiful, lovely, gracious, sunshiny co-host, Kalina Angel from The Earth Experience with Kalina Angel, Friday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard.
Thank you,
before
Kalina,
we go,
I love you.
I love you, baby.
I think you're the best host ever.
I'm your number one fan. So.
I'm your number one fan.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that we had a chance to do this together tonight. It was actually quite on the fly. She just sat down next to me, and I'm like, hey, you want to talk about your show? And then we co-created an experience tonight, and it was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
Very much. It was very fun.
It was. Do you want to lead them out with anything before we go?
Just that I love you guys, and it's just an amazing time to be in, and I'm very grateful to be able to have, as Rob said earlier, a platform to speak on, and I want you guys to feel free to keep calling in and adding your voice, because it's your one of the many, many abilities that we've all been blessed with in this particular era, to have all these wonderful platforms to speak our voices, and we would love to hear your perceptions, your glasses, so to speak, because you are also channeling, Rob's very glamorous style of channeling. We love it. We enjoy it. It's awesome. But we all have something beautiful and unique, and we want to hear your beautiful voices and viewpoints and stories. So I just want to thank you all for calling and listening and being a part of it, because we couldn't do it without you. We love you so much.
No, we couldn't. We do love you guys very much. And for those of you who will now be signing out on the archive and live listen, this is the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with your host, Rob Gauthier. The date today is October 22nd, 2014. special co-host, Kalina Angel from The Earth Experience with Kalina Angel. Thank you to all the chatters, all the callers. We'll see you next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Pacific. And Kalina, we'll see you much sooner than that on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We love you guys very much, and we'll see you next week.
Love you.
Stay tuned for the announcements. Here they are with Karen Newman from About Oneness. Karen Newman.
Hi, this is Karen Newman from the show About Oneness, and here's what's coming up on the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 and 2, starting on Monday, October 20th, until Sunday, October 26th. Simply put, Rob Gauthier, founder of the EEN and the host of the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, has put together the greatest metaphysical radio network ever. 7 days a week, we have shows that will aid you on your path to enlightenment, evolution, and ascension. On EEN1, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is Heart to Heart Talk Radio with your host, Daniel Scranton. Join Daniel and his featured guests discussing a wide variety of metaphysical topics. Daniel channels the Creators, the Hathors, Ophelia the Fairy, and Archangel Michael, and the latest, the Unicorn Collective. Daniel and his guests will take phone calls and questions, and it's sure to generate high-frequency discussions. You can find more about Daniel at his website, danielscranton.com, and also on Facebook. Go to the Events tab on Daniel's website to learn more about Daniel's upcoming events. On Tuesday at noon, also 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please join hosts Megan Crandallmeyer and Rachel Archelaus for Radio Inspiration, Expression, and Abundance for their show, Soulfulpreneur. Spiritual business specialists Rachel and Megan will bring you inspiring conversations with people who are living their soul purpose. Frequent guests include psychic mediums, channelers, coaches, artists, and authors. They end every show with psychic readings and business coaching. Your questions about your spiritual business or life purpose journey are welcome. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, is the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with host Rob Gauthier. Rob channels Treb on the first Wednesday of each month and will take callers' questions. On the third Wednesday, we'll have special guests such as guest channelers and other metaphysical teachers. The other 2 Wednesdays are freestyle call-in shows to discuss whatever callers have on their minds. Tune in to Rob on Wednesday nights, and you can also find him at trebchanneling.com and on Facebook at the Enlightenment Evolution Network group page. Rob has 2 special announcements. Starting on Sundays from September 14th, TrebChanneling.com offers hour-long meditation classes. Please go to TrebChanneling.com to register. Another project near and dear to Rob's heart is the much-anticipated sequel to the groundbreaking film Tuning In, called Tuning In Now. The movie will feature channelers such as Daryl Anka and Bashar, Lee Carroll and Cryon, and our very own Rob Gauthier and Treb. Tuning In Now will explore the amazing work of today's top channels and how they are helping to awaken the consciousness of the planet. The film is in fundraising stages at the moment, and with a contribution for as little as $15 all the way up to $50, you can help make sure that this film is made. Please go to Indiegogo.com, that's Indie, I-N-D-I-E, Gogo, G-O-G-O.com, and type in the search Tuning In Now 2. That's the number 2. Tuning In Now with the number 2. On Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, join host Philip Malika with the Consciousness Evolution Hour. Join Philip and his special guests and co-hosts as they discuss the shift, ascension, timelines, metaphysical concepts, and the fifth dimension. Find Philip at the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group page on Facebook and on YouTube. On Friday, The Earth Experience with your host, Kalina Angel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The Earth Experience explores our soul's expansion through our human experience on Earth. Kalina will help you to navigate and expand through the exciting confusions that we are manifesting as new 5D beings. On Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, is my show, About Oneness. About Oneness is a weekly radio program focused on celebrating the ongoing conscious awakening of our planet and our realization of oneness. I'm an American originally from Charleston, South Carolina, now living in Europe, The Hague, the Netherlands. I'm an integrated channel, medium, Reiki master, and metaphysical teacher. I have a varied and diverse background, including that of being a singer, dancer, writer, as well as working in the sport, nutrition, and fitness world. As a channel, I bring forward the information of my non-physical guides called Theos, whose message is always that of oneness and unconditional love. This show for me is about integrating all of my experiences and following my highest excitement, which is tapping into the truth of the universe. If you would like to find more about me and my show and my upcoming guests, as well as see many videos and channelings and teachings, you can go to aboutoneness.com. On the Enlightenment Evolution Network, too, join host Victoria Vives every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, hosting Earth Sky People Radio, your bridge between heaven and earth. Subjects will include planet Earth, becoming part of an intergalactic society, star seeds and extraterrestrial life, living in oneness with one another, with Mother Earth, and with life beyond the Earth, the Interstellar Alliance, also known as the Galactic Federation of Life, music, frequency and sound healing, question and answer interviews, shamanism, ancestral wisdom and the star nations, self-sustainative and regenerative living, and much, much more. Please go to victoriavives.com/radio, where she has details about the show and the network. On Saturday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, the Pied Piper and Texas Rebel hosting the show Disclosure Now. Disclosure Now is the On the Edge of Our Seats show that covers all topics of disclosure, from the world's most famous and obscure UFO cases. Pied Piper started his journey in Michigan in 1993 as a preteen seeing Bigfoot and never could get enough in investigating all things paranormal. Texas Rebel is a wild Texas man who loves the same journey and has studied these things for years. Join them as they cover all things in the human experience that just cannot be answered by anyone. And our newest show, starting on November 2nd, hosted by Neil and Sol Gar, The Resonance Intention, from 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. The Resonance Intention show is dedicated to all things frequency and vibration. They will showcase conscious musicians who infuse frequency into their music and have set out to uplift and raise the vibration of humanity through their music. They will have in-depth conversations with various artists about their passion, purpose, and personal journey that led them to where they are now. Additionally, they will routinely have guests on the topics of free energy, technology, and other quantum modalities, technologies that are coming into existence now. The Resonance Intention is a platform for artists, musicians, and inventors to increase awareness of their personal approach in order to contribute to the paradigm shift that we are currently within. And remember, you never have to miss any show from the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 or 2. All shows are available to listen to again immediately after they air on playback. All right, back to the show.